Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is the Joys of Living Great. Welcome to the Joys of Living Great on the Win-Win Women Network. This is the show that is different from all other shows. It's the show that recognizes that women are different. We are all women. We come from different areas of the world. We speak different languages. We have different thoughts and ideas. We each have different purposes in life, but we're all women. Welcome to everyone who has joined us today. Today, our show is about sharing joy. July was devoted entirely to how to find joy, how to keep joy, and now we're going to talk about today how to share joy. And I am joined by my co-hosts today, Crystal L. and Katrina Bond-El. These are two ladies who are very passionate about joy and giving to others. They're very passionate about what they've done with their families and sharing joy. And I am going to let them just tell us how to share joy. Welcome, Katrina and Crystal.
Hi, Faye.
Welcome, say hi.
I just want to start off by saying during the pandemic, we suffered a lot of loss. A lot of people did. And everything wasn't due to COVID. But it came at a time where people were isolated and needed to be with one another when you lose someone. And during the pandemic and when you lost someone, you couldn't have your services like we usually have. You had to limit the number of people that came in. You had to limit it for the viewings and the other special things that's done during a homegoing, such as someone singing a nice song, a selection. And it was hard to follow even some of the directives that was given, if you were in charge over someone's estate. So that was really hard during that time. And I almost felt like that I almost was forced to get used to dealing with this during that time because it was happening so often and unexpectedly. So recently, I had lost one of my childhood friends, a friend that I had known since I was like 5 years old. And as I'll have to tell you, my earliest memory is only about at 5 years old. And it kind of hits you kind of differently when someone dies that's your age and someone that you've known for so long. I mean, it's really real to you. It's so real to you because you've known this person all your life. And so I was thinking how I could share joy in a time like this. Since it happened so often, I was thinking to myself, how could I share joy? And one of the major things that I did was I made sure I made contact with my friend and went to visit the friend. And so when I visited, the person gets to talk. You get to let the person talk and you begin to share experiences. And one of the most precious things was when you share memories. And some of the memories are joyous and funny. And she began to laugh as we exchanged. Remember this, remember that? And we made, remember things that were more as a pleasant time. We know this had happened, but you have to find a way to get through it. And then another thing that you do when someone loses someone, you make sure you call them because you don't want people to be alone. You don't overwhelm them, but you call them and you visit. And when you go to someone's house, you take them something. We took food because we know they're having guests over. That really alleviates a lot of the weight off of someone when you have to prepare like that. That's the old way. Someone used to come over to your house. They always bring something to eat, something to drink. And you sit around and you talk with one another. And that was one of the most precious things that we were missing during the pandemic because you couldn't readily do that with everyone, and people need this contact, and people need to be communicated with, talked to, and get their minds off of the present problem that was at hand. And we know that you have to deal with it. There's so many things that has to be done, and you can help out the person with that, because their mind is not always on every detail. So you can help them with that. And since, as I stated, it had happened so frequently over the last 2 years in my own family, I knew some of the things that should be done. And we offered assistance if you needed to buy something. Take my girlfriend out, get her nails done. She wanted to get her hair done. You assist them, go with them. I even paid for something. And because money has to be paid for so many things, and so many things that you're unaware of, even if you haven't dealt with this yourself. So I was able to spread joy that way, and constantly keep in contact even after the services, check on them. And another thing I would tell her, what's so tragic about this one, this was a twin. And so not only was this her sister, her sibling, this is a twin. So they were joined at the hip. So there's going to be a certain amount of loss that's going to be experienced, a certain amount of grief. But I just told her, you both are two individuals. It's not your time to go. You can remember her in the best way possible, and that she did so many beautiful things. She was saved. So we knew all that part, but it's just a part of the grieving that you have to go through, that you can't escape. So you try to do it in the best way possible.
Thank you so much, Katrina. You are absolutely right. And I'm not sure if it's an ethnic thing or not, but I want our audience to know that definitely one of the ways, and if anybody's ever seen Tyler Perry's
Yes.
movies, the Thanksgiving and the
Yes.
family Sunday dinner and everything, that what we do, we strive as a family on that getting together
Yes.
and talking over food
Yes.
and drink, good food and drink.
Yes.
That it's the way that a lot of us learned how to cook, because we were in the kitchen as all the good food was being prepared.
Mhm.
It's the way that we always knew we could go to grandma's house, or we were going to have a special dinner, and the family would get together. The kids could run around in the yard, but the family could get together, and you really were connected. So when you lose someone that is a part of that family, it's a difficult thing. It's very, very difficult. It's difficult from the time that you learn that you will not be able to sit, to eat, to talk, to drink with that person again.
Yes.
So the rest of the family traditionally always gets together
Yes.
to come together, eat together, drink together, laugh together, cry together, and share joyful memories. That is just something that it's expected, and we all were lacking that during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But now, we are moving back into really getting back together and having that kind of connection. That's one way that you can share joy continuously. It's also a way that I've learned that your children, the next generation, and their children, the next generation, learns about the family. They learn about the values. Sometimes in families, it appears that there's competition,
Right.
among sisters and brothers, or
Yes.
aunts and uncles. But what that brings about is honest effort to do better than the next person. And it's not a vengeful, hateful thing when there is good, genuine competition. So being together in the family, you learn who got a promotion, who lost their job, who's looking for a job. How can you help somebody else find a job? Oh, well, they're looking for somebody at my job. Those
Mhm.
are all connections that we do that where as a family, we are sharing joy. Crystal, I know that the dear friend that Katrina lost was a dear friend of yours as well.
Mhm.
Um, can you share with us what your feelings were at the time and how did you help the family to see some joy?
Well, it was very hard. And because like Katrina said, we in our family lost a lot of people in the span of that pandemic, a lot of people. I mean, to the point where, listen, I work in the mental health field. And, we all pray, we fast, we go to church, all that. But I tell you, it got to a point where I've seen the saddest day of my life. And I've like, God, what do I draw from? I thought I done drew to the well was dry. You see what I'm saying? Because all that I learned, all the knowledge, you learn from, the work background, it wasn't working after a while, to the point, Katrina and I talked, the where I had to find the joy to share it was having somebody listen. We couldn't join together like we were saying. We even had a conversation about this. I'm like, my God, how we used to hug people. You used to be able to come up and hug them and just talk to them, hold their hand and give them a tissue if that's all you could do. But it's like when that was snatched away, I got in such a prayer place because I'm like, God, what are we going to do? We used to do this and we used to do that. And that still small voice of his, he said, well, I'm here. Here I am. I'll be those things for you. So when he opened that up to me, I was like, oof, wow, okay. So then, Katrina and I started talking and we actually had to process how we felt. It was like halfway prayer slash rant slash something to talk through a thing and be real with God, where two or three are gathered, he's in the midst. So he's there listening, he hears our heart, and we talk through with him. You have to push past your own grief to be able to share joy and lift someone else out of their grief, because this is not like it was somebody over there we were close. These were close quarters. And I said, wow, Lord, what do we do? And so this is what we did. We go and sit now, because now this recent death happened, the pandemic, things lightening up. So we were able to actually sit with the family, but to share it was the greatest reward. Like Katrina said, we laughed with them. When my sister-in-law passed away, she was on a situation where she was, they had given her some weeks. And so our joy is being spread there. We came over, we skipped church one day and had church at her house, to kind of lift her spirits. We sat and visited with her. The Lord blessed me to be able to sit and have an entire day, like a 10, 12-hour day, just me and her. That thing was so rich. My God, my heart was full, and I'm pouring out joy to her, and she had no idea what that thing did for me. So there was like an exchange of joy, but it took a pushing through or pushing past your own to see someone else's. That's how you're able to give joy. You have to push past, not suppress it, but just push through it. So you can see, you have to see a need there and meet it. We're on assignment. We don't get days off, not really. We take our minutes. I get my minutes in my chair, to get me together. But my goodness, when it comes time to, be in assignment mode, all right, give me what to say. So a lot of it was, a lot of praying helped us to push through to share the joy. You see what I mean? It helped us push through to share, because it was very difficult, and most of the deaths were sudden. And it's like, wow, what do you do with this? This is a whirlwind. But when the joy's in there, it can't be disrupted. We just have to ask God to fill it back up so we can share some more. he gives us so much to share. He'll fill it back up so we can give it again. So, it was very difficult because we were mourning too with my sister-in-law. Katrina and I were close to her, but like, wow, that's our husband's baby sister. Her husband and mine, that is her sister. Oh my God, her sons, 3 boys and their wives, devastated. My pastor, also a brother, so it's very complex, but when you go before the Lord, he made it so simple, just simplistic. We want to work through our stuff so we can share and be used where we need to be used. It's tough, but the reward, when you see the faces light up, the tears fall because of the relief they have. It's an awesome thing. It's an awesome thing. And the reward with me, that's everlasting. That thing sticks. It will never go anywhere. The fact that we were able to help in our grief, this was a family grief thing. In our grief, we were able to help each other.
One of the things that we sometimes often miss, because we're so busy thinking about how we're feeling, and when we lose someone that's close, whether it's blood relative or as you said, your husband's sister, you're still close to them. But sometimes when we are so focused on how we're feeling, what we miss is the rest of the family.
Yeah.
Your husband, Katrina's husband, all the brothers and sisters, the deceased family, husband, children, grandchildren.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people affected, so it's just not one person.
Right.
That grief can affect. However, going back to that coming together, that communal spirit that we all are accustomed to, brings us to that point where we all get together. And I'm going to ask you, because you mentioned praying a lot. So is it typical when you get together for those family get-togethers, whether it's because of a grief situation or a special occasion, do you often start with prayer?
Yes. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Sometime an occasional family cookout, we overlook it to a point, but then it's like, wait a minute. Even if it's blessing the food, that prayer extends itself,
Oh yeah, I can imagine. There are sometimes, when some of the family, they're ready to eat and they come up and they start eating, but oh no, 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 no.
Right.
I remember my grandmother wouldn't let you, I don't know if she wouldn't let you smell the food till you said the grace, said the blessing,
Yeah.
And then I remember once we were at a cookout and my husband asked one of his friends to pray. And so the gentleman prayed a long time, long time. So we had this joke, we won't ask him to pray again because we're ready to eat. But the point was, we knew that prayer should have been first.
That's
and
right.
It taught our children that prayer should be first. Even my grandchildren, my great grands now, even the smallest one, the 4-year-old, can say the grace, and if nobody says it, she is upset. If they put something up to their mouths and then, wait a minute, you didn't say your grace. And her little grace is not always perfect. She gets some of the words right sometime, but she knows that that's what you're supposed to do. So before any joy enters into that circle, enters into that family gathering, there's prayer.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is with my family. Is that the way that you see it also, Katrina?
Yes, yes. I have another story to tell too, Faye. It was when my own mother had passed away. And I have, of course, my own and my grandson. Well, I'll tell you, it was the grace of God that kept me. But anytime I would mention my mother, my grandson would cry.
Mhm.
And my son would say, Mom, you can't talk about grandma around him because he's going to cry. He just can't keep crying. I said, no, son, I'm going to have to show him another way to deal with the grief.
Exactly.
So what it was, we took him to her gravesite where we had buried her, and he saw how all the memorials were for people, the little flowers, the little twirly things, and he saw how people memorialize people. And I said, this is how you remember someone nicely. And I said, my husband said a prayer and I sang a song. And I said, now we're going to go out to eat to your mom's favorite restaurant. We're all going to sit together and everybody can go around the table and say what they liked about your grandma. Wouldn't you know it, he was the first one. And what he said was, my mom Jeanette was a good grandma. And they went on around and he never cried again after that. When he saw how it brought joy to him to know that
Yes.
he wasn't forgotten. Yes, we can think about her without crying. We can remember her, all the good. And he knew that she was a good grandmama. So that's the things that you're going to need to remember. And he asked his dad occasionally, he says, my mom's still resting in peace? And he says, yes, my mama's resting in peace. And that's what's his little understanding at 7 years old.
Yeah.
But the thing I wanted to tell you is that he stopped crying because he saw the joy in it.
The
He
joy.
did it. We let him
Yes,
good part of it.
you were able to demonstrate to him at his level
Yes.
and give him an understanding so that he would know he doesn't have to cry and grieve and continue to grieve. Um, he now believes that she's resting in peace, and he's happy about that because he knew his grandma was a good grandma.
That's right.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story.
Yeah.
And that there are those little acts of kindness that we can share among one another. And it does not have to be a grief situation.
Yes.
If we're share just one little thought of kindness every day with someone, if it's nothing but a nice hello with a smile,
Mhm.
a compliment, someone that you've known and you see them every day,
Yes.
and you probably just pass by, but you take the time to say, how are you today? How's your day going today?
Yes.
Any little act of kindness can bring joy, and you're sharing joy with someone. What you get back can be so, so important to you that now your joy is expanded.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're strengthened. That's Bible. The joy of the Lord is strength.
Absolutely.
And that's for real. We actually know that because we went through it.
Yeah.
It had to be strengthened in like the worst of times. So
Mhm.
his word is true.
This is so, so true. So listen, do either of you have more stories that you want to share with us today about how you've shared joy in the past?
Well, with the situation with Crystal said with my sister-in-law, we actually took that time out and she said had church. We literally had church.
In her house, yes.
And Crystal did say a prayer and we talked
And
and
we sang. Ooh,
I sang a song and she said that was nice.
yeah.
But truly, I can't emphasize enough, you really do have to put your feelings aside if you can, and to sharing this joy with someone else, the one that's maybe even grieving more than you or hasn't got that understanding yet
Mhm.
of how to deal with this thing or how to find joy. Like I was saying, it was almost like God was forcing us to deal with this because we're gonna have to be used to do this. You're gonna have to be the ones that tell someone about the joy, because it kept happening again and again in the family. And And you know, a lot of people don't talk about things. They
Yeah.
won't, because they just don't know how to. So, but if you start it off and you lead and you say something or tell them something or take the time out and sit with someone, you find out you can spread joy even in the worst of times.
Yeah. When you're mourning with those who mourn and weeping with those who weep. You know, that's what we're doing. That's what we were doing. Like the word was just coming alive so much in this last 2 years as far as these type things. And we found it all to be true. And all of it works. All of it works together. It worked. Those people actually were uplifted. We get so many thank yous and so many. It's like, wow, you have no idea. Thank us. Yeah, we thank you too. So it's a reciprocal thing when you're selfless. When you're
that's so
selfless with how you
sweet.
share. You know, they have no idea. We're mourning with you and we're weeping with you and we're trying to give joy and uplift and encourage. But wow, we're mourning with you, really, like the word says. I tell you,
Right.
the word is true, isn't it? Okay.
So now women of win-win women, we're here, we're available to share our joy with you. Do not feel that we are talking above you, over you, around you. We are talking to you. And what we're saying is, this is the message that we are willing to dig deep inside of us to find the joy that we have so that we're able to share it wherever and with whomever wants us to. We're going to share it regardless. But if any of you out there are in a need, you've had a grieving situation, you need some prayer, you need some help, you need some encouragement, by all means, contact us. We're on the Win-Win Women Network, but you can certainly reach us by joining our Facebook group. The Facebook group is the same as the show, The Joys of Living Great. That's The Joys of Living Great. It's a Facebook group. It's a public group, so anyone can join. The only thing that we ask is that you be respectful, you share the joy that you have, and you, of course, give us any of the comments or anything that you feel will help someone else. Be careful what you say in the group. Be mindful of how you speak in the group, and always be respectful of others. The Joys of Living Great show is every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So many of you may be watching us in different time zones, but just if you want to be on live with us, come on to the Win-Win Women Network on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. We will be so happy to have as many guests as we can.